Hi everyone, I'm Cole, a developer advocate at Mage. And in this demo, I'll be working inside a SQL block in Mage Pro, running a query against a table that lives in Microsoft Fabric. One nice thing about Mage is you can orchestrate queries across different data platforms, and we now fully support Microsoft Fabric in our SQL blocks. Let's go ahead and get into the demo. All right, here we are on the Mage Pro homepage. And the first thing we are going to want to do is to navigate to our pipeline editor, or actually really create a new pipeline since we don't have one yet. So let's go ahead and click this pipelines button. We'll click the new pipeline button. We'll start from scratch. And then we will give this pipeline a name, and we're going to be using a batch pipeline. So we'll just call this Microsoft Fabric Demo YouTube, and we'll create this new pipeline. So you can see we've come into a blank pipeline editor page. We'll just pop out our file browser here, and then we will go ahead and pop out our viewer here. We have some different options, a tree view, graph. We'll be looking at secrets. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing you're going to want to do for your Fabric integration is connect to your source, right? So we'll need a Azure client ID, an Azure client secret, a Fabric warehouse name, a Fabric warehouse endpoint, and an Azure tenant ID. So the place where you're going to store all this connection information, you're just storing your secrets here and inferring to them either through YAML or Python code. But one place where in Mage we have a lot of our integration connections is really in our ilconfig.yaml file. So let's go ahead and click that first, and we'll be taken to our editor page, and you will be able to see this populate here. So you can see we've added our Azure client secrets that we'll need, and we've also added our Microsoft Fabric warehouse secrets here as well. So in order to connect to your Fabric warehouse, you'll need to add that information here in our ilconfig.yaml file. And that's really going to be your first step. So the next thing you'll want to do, let's go ahead and close this. Actually, let's just close down the entire editor page. The next thing you're going to want to do is you will want to add a SQL block to your pipeline editor here. So we'll click this blocks button, and we can go ahead and put the we'll just do this as a data transformer. Really, you could have a loader, transformer, or exporter for your SQL blocks, but a lot of your SQL transformations or overlay transformations happen in, a transformation step. So let's go ahead and add this base template here. We don't necessarily need to name it. I guess we could call it YouTube demo fabric or something like that. And then save and add. And you can see that Mage allows two different ways to run SQL code in the SQL blocks. One is to just use raw SQL, which we're going to do. But other is to have just a super simple SQL query, and you go ahead and list the schema and table name here for whatever data warehouse you're working with. So let's go ahead and click the raw SQL button. You're also going to want to provide a connection. So we're working with Fabric, but as you can see, we have a lot of different connections: BigQuery, ClickHouse, SQLite, Snowflake. We have a lot of different connections for, for like transformation overlays. And then the profile, this is the default profile from the ilconfig.yaml file. You can set up multiple different profiles, but this is just sitting under the default profile name. So we'll go ahead and click that, and then we can add in our code. And I have some code that is already done. So I'm just going to copy that in and then I can describe that. So let's go ahead and copy this in. So what I'm doing here is I'm just selecting columns from test table 10. And then I'm adding some calculated fields where I'm just multiplying the integer column by the float column. And then I'm adding two columns. One would be the ranking category, and the other is the average float for that category. And you can see I'm doing this using window functions here. So that's really the basic query. Let's go ahead and run this code. You can just run this code by clicking this run code button. That will provide you a sample output. And this is really like super simple a way to kind of debug your code if you need to as well. But you'll see a sample output here, and just so you can kind of spot check it, make sure it meets your expectations before putting this into an automated workflow. So let's go ahead and run the code. And you can see that we're connecting to our Fabric warehouse, and we have a sample return here. So let's go ahead and look to see, make sure that we have added our columns. So you can see this rank and category average float is here. And that's really it. A simple example, but it shows how you can run analytic queries against Microsoft Fabric directly from a Mage Pro pipeline. From here, you could schedule this, feed the results into downstream transformations, or use it to power dashboards and other analytic workflows. Hope you enjoyed the demo. You can find links to more information in the video description.